So, welcome to the political season 2024. The Christmas truce is over. I call for victory of Ukraine, and I'm confident we have all the means and capacities to do that. So, what we need to do is now to seriously engage to help Ukraine with the military defense mechanism and with a clear NATO promise of membership. Politically, we must win this war by NATO membership promise and, of course, integration. This is absolutely feasible. There's many historic examples like the German NATO integration, like we did it with many of the countries now, and we have a lot of experience now. Absolutely, it is decisive actually to win it politically by a NATO membership promise for Ukraine, like we did it for the European Union. And do we really want to defend Ukraine as EU alone as a member and secure it long term without American and Canadian support? Certainly not. So we need, of course, a NATO membership of Ukraine, and it's absolutely feasible and doable. What I will do at the start of the year, obviously break a little bit this inertia and defeatism which we have at the moment. I will say the victory is achievable. I've given several interviews to that respect, and we just need to deliver the weapons. It's not to be understood that the French and British deliver the same rockets, it's different names. Storm Shadows and Scalp in the French name and the British name, but similar, not the same, but similar like Taurus, the Germans are not delivering. Of course, they deliver significant amount of monies and shame the Austrians forever. We do almost nothing, but the Germans are giving their part in money. But of course, we need to give all the weapons which we have, especially on the tanks. Yeah, we can win this war if there is enough tanks, enough rockets, and enough artillery, enough ammunition. And those who are the fifth column of Russia in the EU by undermining our unity, by somehow starting a defeatist approach like Orban, Fico, but partly Scholz as well. They have to resign and we have to defund them. That's the logic of this. And if, from time to time we may have some compromises, and funding continues, but only if they consent to EU-NATO integration of Ukraine and they don't stand in our way of financing and arming Ukraine. This is the most important at the beginning of the year, but obviously it's also about the defense of Bosnia and Kosovo, because the Russian-Serbian interests are of course aligning in creating a lot of problems for us from the Houthis, from the Hamas, from North Korea. There is a massive amount of potential and actual crises which Russia and Iran try to inflame. And of course, we have to be very active. And of course, we have to be very clear to our enemies, as I do now to South Africa, which is supporting our enemies. And then they are in the enemy alliance. Yeah. Their terrible case against Israel at the court, and all this behavior against Ukraine. This has to be punished, and that's why I start to discuss as well dismantlement of Russia, South Africa, Iran, and all our enemies. Yes, but there's also very clearly the need for a positive reform agenda. We have to unify Europe more by unifying Europe by EU enlargement, EU and NATO enlargement, OECD enlargement, the unification of our energy market, of our capital markets, of our digital market, of course, one tax code in Europe, meaning 15% for everybody. Of course, a big infrastructure investment package towards the east to include Ukraine and the Balkans. And of course, all our efforts to support democracy in Serbia, to have no Russian launch base in the Balkans anymore. These are the most important things. Fast-track enlargement. For Kosovo, there's of course a lot of things, unfortunately, which have to be done for membership in OECD, Council of Europe, OECD, World Trade Organization, and of course the UN and the NATO. This is very important. And the recognitions by Slovakia, Romania, Spain. We made some progress in the last 2 years of war, but the institutional progress is okay. Some things have happened. Sweden in NATO, yes. Turkey, yes. Hungary. We need to get going, but we have by far not achieved enough in terms of unification of Europe and division of our enemies, which must be our strategic approach. And that's what I'm calling for. Yes. What else on the big agenda? It's of course the decoupling from the Russian economy, the complete boycott and isolation of Russia. This has by far not been far enough, and this has to be intensified in 2024. And obviously we must prepare for the dismantlement of Russia. This is a debate I led already the whole year 2023 very successfully. But there are so many Russia understanders and Russia MPs in the White House, in the German Chancellorship, that we have really an issue here. So better preparation must be done. And of course also the economic reform agenda, the unification of the energy market, and of course the opening of the European Union towards Mercosur and towards America, towards ASEAN. These are all the logical steps, and the old taboos of yesterday, they have been killed by Putin, and we still have some of them left, unfortunately. Putin killed them by the 24th of February, and we have, unfortunately, they are like mummies, or like lemurs. They're hanging out, this protectionism, anti-Semitism, this xenophobia, and all these things which are also partly, of course, Putin is putting his propaganda machine behind the extreme right and the extreme left. But on the other hand, also some of our really incompetent leadership, they are fooling such feelings and some emotions and the rise of the extreme right, because they are not explaining the truth. They are not explaining the need for the free trade agreements, for openness enough, and they are not somehow leading the population, but just reacting to the worst sentiments which there are, and that's of course a disaster. I will be very active in 2024, I promise. I hope you will support me here with a subscribe, and also share my content and read my content on Twitter. I will be very active for a better, freer and more open Europe, and a better, freer and more open world, and also for the victory of Ukraine, liberation, integration of Ukraine. We have come a far way now in terms of integration into EU. Now NATO is happening and must be happening to achieve peace and victory, and not peace by submission, because that we really don't want to sacrifice, and nobody should sacrifice, and nobody has the right to sacrifice any parts of Ukraine in any kind of peace deal. And there must be always including a NATO membership, a reality, not just a promise, but a real integration can be the only way to stabilize and to have peace in the East. Yes, and that's more or less my agenda for 2024. There will be much more coming in separate videos, but now I will also publish some videos in German to make some impact on that debate. And I wish you a very successful 2024. Please support what I call the Freedom and Victory Agenda 2024. And please support candidates in the European elections who are for Ukraine and who are for Kosovo. And don't support anybody who is against Ukraine and against Kosovo, who is against NATO, who is against America, who is enemy of peace and freedom. Don't support any of these failures, but support the Freedom and Victory Agenda, which I am outlining in this video. Thanks a lot. More to come from Pax Europiana. We will have peace, but peace based on victory, not on submission. Thanks a lot. Bye.